damn near a fireable offense.
Stephon Diggs has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills got the wide receiver that they want a team with Josh Allen to move this team forward.
Jamal Adams is flying to Seattle after the Jets traded the All-Pro safety to the Seahawks.
This strengthens their hold on what I think was an already rock-solid playoff spot.
The Pewter Pirates land the biggest bounty of them all. Tom Brady will be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Rob Gronkowski retired last spring. He's been traded to the Bucs.
They obviously become Super Bowl contenders.
New England loses Tom Brady and gains Cam Newton.
I don't think nobody's expectations will ever surpass my expectations for myself.
The Green Bay Packers select Jordan Love, quarterback.
I'm not going to say that I was thrilled by the pick.
Mike McCarthy, now the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
We can't ignore the fact that this team has a juggernaut of an offense.
Patrick Mahomes gets rewarded with the richest contract in NFL history.
Look, it's not going to be their last time appearing in the Super Bowl with him as the quarterback.
So exciting. So many intriguing headlines there, fellas. The NFL season kicks off 1 week from today. And to get you set, we debut our new series. It is called Two-A-Days. So we begin with Tom Brady, who has no shortage of weapons. Listen to this. The Bucs clearly going all in. Running back Leonard Fournette has agreed to a deal with the Buccaneers. Fournette, the 4th overall pick in the 2017 draft, who was waived Monday by the Jags, reached a 1-year deal with the Bucs that could be worth up to $3.5 million with incentives. A source told our Adam Schefter Fournette joins a crowded backfield that also features recently signed 6-time Pro Bowler LaShawn McCoy. Stephen A., you're up first. Are the Bucs more likely to win the Super Bowl or miss the playoffs?
Without question, it's make the Super Bowl. It's win the Super Bowl. I firmly believe that. I've called them a Super Bowl contender since they acquired Tom Brady because I think that when you lose somebody that I believe should be of the year and quarterback Jameis Winston, who gave new meaning to 30 for 30 with 30 interceptions and 30-plus touchdowns. And you replace him with a guy that's never thrown more than 14 interceptions in a season in his career. As his replacement, he's a 6-time Super Bowl champion. I think that's a long way towards helping your defense, which, by the way, had improved over the last half of the season last year. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you've got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 stalwarts at the wide receiver spot. At the tight end spot, which is incredible for Tom Brady because he loves having that security blanket. Remember, once upon a time, he had Gronk and he had Aaron Hernandez, who obviously passed away, and we know that whole unfortunate story. But now you've got Gronk in Tampa. You got him with O.J. Howard. You got him with Cameron Brate. And then at the running back spot, after buffering your offensive line through the draft, at the running back spot, not only did you have this kid Ronald Jones to begin with, but then you acquired Shady McCoy, and now you've got Leonard Fournette, whose games last year only had about 265 carries, averaged about 4.3 yards a carry. What Tampa Bay has available to them, it's not just about the multitude of weapons, it's who's leading them. And I'm talking about Tom Brady. Yeah, you know, it's a cliff and then it's a ravine or whatever. I'm not even going there. What I will say to you is that he was bereft of weapons last year in New England. That clearly is not the case in Tampa now. You can run the throw, you can run the ball, you can throw the ball in between the numbers, short yardage situations. You can throw outside the numbers and fly patterns with Evans and Godwin. I mean, you've got everything you need in the NFC South, which I believe is a shootout division, Max. And what I mean by that is once upon a time, years ago, when Carolina went to the Super Bowl led by Cam Newton, their defense was the joint. Make no mistake about it. But really, when we talk about the NFC South, do we really talk about Atlanta's defense? Do we really talk about New Orleans' defense, even though it's vastly improved over the years, okay? Because once upon a time, it was a joke. That is not the case anymore. The bottom line is when we look at the NFC South, we don't rave about defense. We see high-scoring offenses like New Orleans, Atlanta, and now you're going to have Tampa Bay in the mix. They're going to put up buckets. I think they're going to put up a whole bunch of points, and that's why I think they have a better chance of getting to the Super Bowl than missing the playoffs. I can't see them missing the playoffs.
I think it's a great question because of the new playoff format, right? So, like, which is likely? Neither is extremely likely. I think they have a good shot to make the playoffs. And so they probably won't miss. And the Super Bowl is a long shot for any team except maybe a Mahomes-led team. You're not going to pick a team against the field. But more than that, the 2020, the CBA for 2020, the playoff format is only one bye in the first round. So if they have to have the best record in the conference, or Brady's going to have to, and company, and he has an embarrassment of riches there, there's no doubt about it, going to have to win 4 games against the best teams in football to get it done. That's unlikely. On the other hand, there are going to be 14 teams in the playoffs now. So of the teams make it, and then that makes it unlikely that he's going to miss. If I have to pick one, it's clearly winning the Super Bowl is less likely than him missing the playoffs. Missing the playoffs is more likely for Tom Brady and company than winning the Super Bowl is. Simply because if you look at the division, my analysis is, and I'm not alone, the Saints are the best team in the division. And so then you're talking about a wild card. And when you start to look around the NFC, are there teams that you can imagine grabbing a wild card from other divisions, several of them, instead of the Bucs? Yeah, I can. I look at the NFC West, and to a degree, they're going to beat up on each other, it's true. But I see a whole bunch of teams in the NFC West, like 3 of them that could be headed to the playoffs. And you look around, and then like if Bay is a wild card, what about the Vikings? So when you start to do the math, you say, okay, it's actually not as unlikely as you'd think that they could miss the playoffs. I'll tell you something else. Absolutely right to focus in on the tight ends. Boy, does this guy have receivers there and at wideout. He's got them everywhere, Tom Brady, and they even reinforced the offensive line. But in terms of the running backs, as much as you want to credit Arians and company for looking at what a guy can do instead of what he can't do, okay, Shady can still do these things, Shady McCoy, and Leonard Fournette can certainly, like run between the tackles. Like we can cobble something together. There's a reason that LaShawn McCoy is available. There's a reason they couldn't get anything for Fournette in a trade, and he was available for $3.5 million if the incentives kick in, right? It's because they're not considered very good players anymore around the league. They could do certain things that a guy like Arians may be able to exploit, but it's not like you look at running back on that team and you go, oh, wow, they're loaded. Everywhere else, yes, but they're still going to have to run the ball, and let's see if they can do it.
Well, see, I get where you're coming from, but Ronald Jones wasn't considered a scrub. Shady McCoy ain't Damian Williams, anybody like. And remember, you're not requiring much from these dudes. Also remember, because of the multitude of weapons they have in their passing game, Max, people ain't gonna load the box to stop these guys from running the football. They're gonna want them to run because they're gonna be so petrified of the pass. You can't load the line of scrimmage. You can't stack the line of scrimmage. So in that regard, we're not looking for guys. Don't worry about their 1,000 yards. Don't even worry about 500 yards. The question is, can anybody there average 4 yards a carry? I think so, particularly when you see holes in the defense because everybody's scared of play action. They're scared of Tom Brady flinging the ball, whether it's outside the numbers or in between with Gronk, Howard, and Brate. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm saying I'm not really paying attention to these guys. They're not scrubs. They're not done. You don't look at them and feel like their career is over, like they can't run the football anymore. You're just looking at them and saying they're not stars. They're not Ezekiel Elliott. They're not Saquon Barkley. They're not any of these guys. But can they help you offensively, particularly pass catching out of the backfield? In the case of Shady McCoy, I would say that answer is yes. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the division that they're playing in. Then I look at the rest of the conference. You got an additional team that's going to be in the playoffs, Max. Philly and Cowboys are going to be fighting with each other. Right? You got the NFC North. You got Green Bay. You got Minnesota and Chicago. You got the West. You got Seattle, San Fran, and L.A. And so I look at it from that perspective. I'm like, wait a minute here.
Arizona's
There's a whole bunch of teams that's in a world of trouble not making the postseason. And they don't have the weapons that Tom Brady and Tampa Bay has. I'm going to roll with Tampa Bay on this one. I'm going to say they got a better chance.
Look.
Huh?
I think your football analysis in terms of their running game is right on, right? Like a guy like Fournette can get you some reliable yards, especially when teams will fear the pass. I think that's right. I don't think so, but even if you do, okay, let's say you do think they're going to be better than the Saints. Do you think the Saints are missing the playoffs?
I don't think they have to be.
If you don't, there's – what's that? Right, okay, so how many teams
I don't think they have to be. They just got to get to the postseason and win 3 games.
Right. Well, 4. The Bucs are, unless they have the best record in the conference, which I think is unlikely, are going to have to win 4 games against the best teams in football, and then meet Mahomes and them if it's them in the Super Bowl and beat those guys to win the Super Bowl, right? But even to get in, you mentioned.